Upton Sinclair's The Jungle opens in the bustling and gritty world of Chicago's packing town at the turn of the 20th century, vividly capturing the hardships faced by immigrants. Lithuanian immigrant Jurgis Rudkus arrives in America brimming with hope for prosperity and security. Alongside his family, Jurgis dreams of a stable life, inspired by the promises of the American dream. They envision steady employment, comfortable housing, and a community to call home. However, reality quickly dispels these dreams, revealing the harsh and unforgiving conditions that await. Initially optimistic, Jurgis and his fiancée Ona Lukashite celebrate their union with a joyful traditional wedding feast. Yet, the celebration is shadowed by anxiety, as the costs incurred plunge the family into immediate debt. Struggling under economic pressures, Jurgis quickly finds grueling work in the slaughterhouses, facing brutal physical labor in appalling conditions. Sinclair paints a disturbing image of the stockyards, with their relentless pace, gruesome sights, and lack of basic human dignity. Jurgis, still strong and determined, believes his hard work will lift his family out of poverty. Gradually, Sinclair uncovers the family's plight as they navigate the inhumane working and living conditions of Packingtown. Ona, fragile and sensitive, finds employment in equally harsh factory environments. Family members, including children, are forced to work long hours in unsafe conditions for meager wages. Sinclair carefully documents the dangerous exploitation inherent in the system, showing how it slowly erodes the physical and moral health of each character. As their debts mount, the family's optimism begins to crumble, replaced by a desperate struggle for survival. Tragedy soon strikes, shattering the family's fragile stability. Ona is sexually harassed and later assaulted by her employer, a corrupt foreman who preys on vulnerable women. The harsh revelation of Ona's abuse enrages Jurgis, leading him to assault the perpetrator, which lands him in prison. His incarceration further destabilizes the family, depriving them of their primary wage earner and plunging them deeper into poverty. Sinclair highlights how economic desperation strips workers not only of financial security but of dignity and agency. Released from prison, Jurgis emerges broken and desperate, only to find his family's conditions dramatically worsened. The winter has brought illness, destitution, and despair to their doorstep. Ona, weakened from pregnancy, abuse, and stress, dies tragically in childbirth along with their infant child, leaving Jurgis in overwhelming grief. Sinclair captures this deeply personal loss to underscore the devastating consequences of worker exploitation, poverty, and unchecked capitalism. Jurgis's devastation becomes a poignant indictment of a cruel economic system indifferent to human suffering. Following Ona's death, the family spirals further downward. Jurgis's young son, Antangas, dies tragically in an accident due to unsafe living conditions, deepening Jurgis's anguish. Sinclair vividly portrays how poverty and neglect rob the family of health, safety, and the opportunity to mourn properly. Jurgis, consumed by sorrow and bitterness, abandons his remaining relatives and drifts into homelessness. His struggles illustrate the widespread human devastation caused by rampant industrial exploitation. Driven to despair, Jurgis finds temporary solace in a life of crime and corruption. Sinclair portrays Jurgis falling into Chicago's criminal underworld, becoming involved in illegal activities and political graft, revealing how corruption permeates all levels of society. For a while, this underworld life provides Jurgis with a sense of empowerment and financial relief previously denied to him as an honest laborer. Yet, Sinclair makes clear that this criminal life only perpetuates a vicious cycle of exploitation, offering no true freedom or redemption. Jurgis's moral degradation mirrors the broader ethical corruption of a society built upon greed and exploitation. Through Jurgis's journeys, Sinclair introduces readers to a panorama of societal issues, expanding his critique beyond labor exploitation. The novel meticulously details food safety horrors, vividly describing unsanitary practices in meatpacking plants. Rotten meat is chemically treated, diseased animals enter the food supply, and filth contaminates products sold to unsuspecting consumers. Sinclair's graphic revelations aim not only to shock readers, but to advocate for reforms in public health and safety, exposing the systemic neglect enabled by capitalist greed. Sinclair also exposes the grim realities of the American political system, demonstrating how corruption and bribery control municipal politics. Jurgis witnesses firsthand how votes are bought and sold, politicians are compromised, and justice is denied to the working class. Sinclair emphasizes the complicity of authorities, who, driven by profit and power, systematically ignore the plight of the poor. Through Jurgis's experience in political corruption, readers see clearly how democracy is compromised by unchecked capitalism. Sinclair sharply critiques the loss of genuine democratic participation in favor of corporate interests. As Jurgis's circumstances oscillate between criminal prosperity and destitution, he briefly attempts honest work again, only to be repeatedly exploited and betrayed. In a critical moment, he joins a labor strike, hoping collective action might lead to meaningful change. Sinclair vividly portrays the brutal suppression of the strike, demonstrating the violent lengths to which businesses and authorities will go to protect their interests. The strike's failure further entrenches the workers' hopelessness and reinforces the idea that the American dream remains unreachable for the labor class. Sinclair's depiction underscores how capitalism systematically crushes attempts by laborers to unite and advocate for better working conditions. In the darkest moments of despair, Jurgis discovers a ray of hope in socialist ideals. Sinclair introduces socialism as a possible remedy for the inequalities and suffering produced by capitalism. After hearing an inspiring socialist speech, Jurgis becomes deeply engaged with the socialist movement, finding renewed purpose and community. Sinclair portrays socialism not merely as an economic theory, but as a deeply humane solution capable of restoring dignity and justice to exploited workers. Through Jurgis's awakening, readers experience the transformative potential of political activism and collective empowerment. Jurgis's involvement in socialism leads him into a passionate and committed struggle for social justice and equality. Sinclair emphasizes how socialism becomes a source of personal redemption, rekindling Jurgis's hope for a better society. He encounters vibrant intellectual debates and earnest workers uniting in solidarity, starkly contrasting the isolation and despair of his previous experiences. Sinclair argues persuasively for socialism as a path toward reform, demonstrating its ability to unite people from diverse backgrounds against oppression. The novel becomes a rallying cry, urging collective resistance to injustice. Meanwhile, the remaining family members continue to suffer from harsh working conditions and illnesses resulting from poverty. Sinclair ensures readers do not lose sight of the broader plight of countless immigrant families in Packingtown. Through their ongoing struggles, he reinforces the systemic, entrenched nature of poverty under industrial capitalism. Their continuing hardships highlight Sinclair's critique of American society, underscoring the novel's message that exploitation is endemic and persistent without fundamental change. This contrast makes Jurgis's embrace of socialism even more urgent and compelling. Sinclair's narrative eventually culminates in Jurgis committing fully to the socialist cause, believing it to be the only viable solution to systemic suffering and exploitation. His fervent advocacy energizes him, replacing past despair with new optimism and dedication. Sinclair carefully positions socialism as the moral alternative to the dehumanizing capitalist practices portrayed earlier in the novel. Jurgis's transformation represents Sinclair's hopeful message that through unity, activism, and collective struggle, a fairer society can emerge. The novel concludes by positioning socialism as the inevitable, necessary outcome of worker solidarity. The Jungle had an enormous real-world impact upon its release, prompting public outrage and legislative action. Sinclair's graphic exposé of meatpacking conditions led directly to the passage of the Pure Food and Drug Act and the Meat Inspection Act in 1906. Despite these outcomes, Sinclair famously remarked that he aimed for the nation's heart but hit its stomach, lamenting that readers focused on food safety rather than worker injustice. Nevertheless, the novel significantly influenced labor rights movements, contributing to subsequent reforms. Sinclair's work continues to resonate as a powerful testament to literature's ability to drive societal change. Ultimately, The Jungle remains a potent critique of capitalism, industrial exploitation, and the failure of the American dream for the working class. Sinclair passionately advocates for empathy, justice, and social responsibility through the gripping journey of Jurgis Rudkus. The book endures as a stirring call to action, demanding reforms and greater compassion in industrial society. Readers are left contemplating the human cost of greed, corruption, and exploitation, and the moral imperative for meaningful change. Sinclair's groundbreaking novel continues to inspire debate and reflection, illuminating the path toward a more equitable and humane society. Let us know in the comments what books you'd like to see us summarize next. Happy learning! We will catch you in the next story.